Hey, welcome. It's me, Gazbot. This is one of my 15-minute warm-up sketch things. Usually I do it at the beginning of the day or before I'm about to sit down and start drawing, although I have actually already been doing some drawing today, so it's a little bit disingenuous. Regardless, we're going to aim for 15 minutes based on a suggestion I received. Now, I get several suggestions and I get to choose. I'm going to go ahead and set up my timer for 15 minutes while I tell you what suggestions were given to me today. And this is over all social media, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And I usually put it up roughly an hour before I'm going to do the drawing. This time I think it went a little bit longer because I was drawing a Kickstarter reward. I did a Kickstarter for my independent kaiju comic, The Horror A4, which was funded, and some of the rewards were sketches. So I was doing that, and one of the sketches was for Gypsy Danger from Pacific Rim, which ended up taking me quite a bit longer than I expected. So a few more people got to make some suggestions, and I'm talking and having a hard time setting my timer here. All right. So the suggestions I got were Archangel from Marvel Comics, Princess Mononoke from anime, from whatever, Jean Grey as the Black Queen, Psylocke from Marvel Comics, 50s Bombshell Pinup, which I believe was Samurai Ox, which is a little too non-specific for my goals for this. Part of the choosing is just what I feel in the mood to do, but another part of it is it's just quick 15-minute sketch. I don't have time to do a lot of thinking. I don't have time to try out new styles. This is usually just like a character that I will throw a reference for up on the screen you can't see, and then I go. So anything that is less specific than Spider-Man, I'm probably not going to choose. Sorry, Ox. The next one was Mahunkel, which I didn't even know what that was. I had to look it up. It's some obscure Red Tornado side character that looks like a battling grandma or something. Kind of funny looking. I don't think I'm going to do it today. Dog driving a car, similar to the 50s Bombshell. Not specific enough. I don't feel like figuring out what dog, what car, how would it sit. It's a good idea, and I appreciate the suggestions. It's just not the kind of thing I could do quickly in 15 minutes. Phaeton from Exo Squad. I'm familiar with Exo Squad. I'm not familiar with Phaeton. I don't think I'm going to do that because I haven't looked it up. It's either the pilot or the mech, and I just got done doing 2 mechs for hours, so I don't really want to draw another mech. Spider-Gwen, which is what we're going to go with, and that is from Alex. Thank you, Alex, who also suggested Punk Rock Spidey, which I almost went with. Other suggestions, Star-Lord, My Pet Monster, Char. I couldn't figure out what Char was or who Char was. Earthworm Jim, another great suggestion. Q from Street Fighter 3. So a lot of good ones that I'd like to do, but I'm going to do Spider-Gwen because, I don't know, just because. And so let me go ahead and pull up. Now, Spider-Gwen, I'm going to pull up the reference here because Spider-Gwen, I am familiar with what she looks like basically, but not enough to draw her off the top of my head. And I have not read her book. I hear good things. I haven't read Spider-Man in a while either, though, so it's just not in my wheelhouse. I've fallen behind on most comics, to be honest. I still get a bunch, but I'm always like so far behind. I have a stack I need to read. And people suggest comics to me, and I'm like, yeah, I can't even read the comics that I've suggested to myself. But I think that's a occupational hazard of when you start creating more, you have time to consume less. I remember when I went to Joe Kubert for a year, and hold on, let me start my timer. I went to Joe Kubert for a year, and one of the teachers there said something to the effect of, once you become a creator, you're no longer a consumer or something like that, implying that, hey, you're going to make comics, you're not a fan anymore. And there's certainly truth to that, but I don't. I think they were exaggerating a little bit because I am still a fan of comics. I'm still a fan of other media. But I think that maybe it's a time thing, at least for me. Like I said, so maybe that's not what they meant, but for me, it's become a time thing where I don't have time to consume as much as I used to if I want to continue to create. And I don't like that pose at all. Also, this thickness of brush is way too much, so I'll bring it down to 13. Yeah, so Spider-Gwen, interesting looking costume, and from my understanding is that it's basically like an alternate universe where instead of Peter Parker getting the powers, Gwen Stacy did. And I've seen people wearing the costume at conventions, and I've seen the hoodie. I've even thought about getting the hoodie for myself, even though it's technically a girl's hoodie, because it's just, I do like the design, and it seems pretty slick and cool. Um, yeah, so that's the suggestion we're going with today, Spider-Gwen. Okay, that looks a little better. Let me move it over because it's fallen off the page. And I do these, if you haven't watched, in 15 minutes, so they're not up to my normal standards of quality, and they're a little bit quick, but it's supposed to be just for warm up, kind of get a gesture and draw something that maybe I wouldn't normally draw, and with less pressure to make it perfect. I don't know. She has a hood, and I don't know if I want the hood up or down. I guess I should put the hood up because it seems like that's part of her, gimmick, for lack of a better term, is that she's got this hoodie, which is funny because Scarlet Spider back in the 90s had a hoodie, and everybody thought it was the dumbest thing ever. Although now nostalgia being what it is, it's cool again. Although I don't remember his hoodie like ever being up, whereas hers seems to be up quite a bit more. The other thing is, since I don't read it, I've seen a few different colorations of her webbing. Um, like the one I'm looking at right now, it's sort of white with like a pink tint, which might just be a stylistic choice. But I've also seen one that's almost like a neon blue, similar to the bottom of her feet. I don't know if that's accurate, but I like it because it just makes it a little bit more different from what Peter has, and it's just striking visually. And I'll go ahead and here, look, she's swinging over buildings, everybody. Da 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 da. 12 and a half minutes, man. I'm already behind schedule here. All right, these buildings will probably not get drawn any more than that. Okay, lower the opacity to 50%. Make a new layer. Switch to a darker color. Make my brush smaller. And then try to get something going here. Spider Gwen does whatever Spider can. No, I've become quiet. I've become quiet. That's the other thing is the more I have to think about a picture, the harder it is to talk. And the slower I go, which again is why I don't like to get something that requires me to use too much brain power. And I've kind of made the same mistake I made before when I did Speedball, where because of the nature of the character, I want to show them in motion, but it's a whole nother dimension that I have to figure out the pose. And uh, with a time frame like this, it's going to result in a less finished piece. Of course, like I said, the whole goal isn't to have a finished piece, but whatever. I'm just talking. I'm just talking, folks. So this is pass 2. I should really have a pass 3 before I go into color. I'm a silent man. I had something I wanted to talk about that I'm now totally blanking on. Well, I'll talk about Joe Kubert. I went to Joe Kubert for a year. Some of you know this, some of you don't. And it's a comic book art school in New Jersey, Dover, New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey originally. I live in California now. And it was weird. I had planned on going to SVA, and then I had no money, and my family wasn't going to pay, so I did not go to college for a year. And matter of fact, got kicked out of the house I was living in. So directly after high school, during summer break, rather than enjoying myself before going to art school, I went out and got a job at a telemarketing company and rented a room from my uncle in a house he owned, and had no car and didn't see. It was a pretty terrible summer actually. Some of my friends came to visit me a few times, but it was just no fun. And then I didn't go to art school the next year. I did eventually go to art school a few years later. I went to community college and a few other things. Blah 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 blah. But I went to Joe Kubert, is the point, for a year, and it was a little bit disheartening. Disheartening is not the word. Um, Disenchanting, maybe. It made me hate comics for a while. And I'm not saying don't go there. I'm not. I think I wasn't in the right headspace in some ways, and I had to work, and I was living with my grandparents, and then I had to move halfway through, and so I had a lot of weird stuff going on in my life. And I did get something out of it. I got some friends out of it, for one thing, but I also, I did some of the classes I got a lot out of. Others I was like, why are we doing this? Like I took a class called Paste Up and Mechanicals, and this was a while ago, but it was like the late 90s, and computers existed, and nobody was going to be using those. Like, you have to put it through a wax machine, and that's how you change, like lettering on a article. And it's like, first of all, what does this have to do with comics? But second of all, it's nobody's going to be doing this in a year. I mean, barely anybody does it now. I just realized I have her swinging this way, but I had her webbing floating the other way, so that makes more sense like that. All right, let me erase this, and let me take this layer to 50%. Let me check my time. So anyway, yeah, Joe Kubert. This was also years ago, so it might be completely different now. So take everything I said about it with salt grains. But yeah, I did not really like it. I finished the year. I didn't drop out, but I didn't go back after that. And years later, I ended up going to community college and then went to School of Visual Arts and actually got a degree in animation. But but yeah, like I said, I had some good times and met some fun people. But yeah, it was just it was partially me and partially some teachers. And the worst part about it, and again, I don't know if it's changed, is it felt like high school part two. It was supposed to be a college, not just a college, but like a trade school where we're specializing, getting us ready for a particular profession. So it wasn't even just like, oh, let me learn. It was like, get us ready. and yet it had weird hours. If I recall, it was like something like 8 to 2:30 or something, like basically like high school hours. And on top of that, like you weren't allowed to leave the premises, and you all had the same curriculum that you couldn't change. You had two classes a day with a lunch in the middle, and like they frowned upon you having a job, even though some of us like me needed a job, otherwise I wouldn't be able to go there. Um, and like yeah, I remember like wanting to go across the street to buy a soda or whatever, and it was like, where's your pass? And it's like, I'm 19, I'm out of high school, I need a pass? Like I'm not even, none of us are even living at home, you know, like we're all, it just, it was bizarre the way they treated us. And I also at the time there were assignments where you needed a copy machine to like, you know, like old fashioned Xerox to copy things, and they had one in the library that charged like 25 cents a copy, which seemed a little high, especially considering across the street you can get it done for 5 or 10 cents. But again, you weren't allowed to leave school premises because we were all, and everybody there was over 18. So it really made no sense. And, you know, I certainly wasn't quiet about my dissatisfaction, and I got lectured by Mike Chen and Mr. Kubert himself, who wasn't one of my teachers, but I got yelled at him, which is fine. Uh, I'm not sure. I think I may have made her boobs a little bit too big, but uh, whatever it is, that now. That's the other thing is a lot of these requests I get, like not only am I not particularly familiar with the characters other than in passing, but also it's a lot of times the first time I've ever drawn them, so it's a bit of a challenge, which is why I've said in other videos like this is not something I would have done earlier in my career because I'm not impressing myself nor anyone else with these drawings, I don't think. But because I have so much other work out there in the world, I don't feel as worried that I'm going to be judged by what I'm doing here. This is more just a fun thing. People seem to like giving suggestions. It's a good little exercise for me. But if I thought everyone was going to be like, oh, well, I guess that's how good you could draw, you know, like I would be like mortified. Um, and yeah, so I think I'm patting myself on. Good job, Gaz. It shows that I'm at a certain point in my career confidence level, whatever, that I'm able to do these and put them up, regardless of how well or not well they may come out. And we're at about 6 minutes, so This will be my final layer. As I've talked before, I like to do several layers, kind of emulating penciling and inking and all that stuff. But at some point, I run out of time, so. I want to fix that hand, but again, we're out of time, so that is the hand now. She looks like she has spider webs here and here. And then this is all black, but oh, I see, it's like spider legs here. Okay. And then this cuts in like a big triangle. And a little bit of pelvis stuff. And then she's got more, I guess the whole thing is sort of like a spider hugging her or something. I wish I had more time to study that because it seems like it was good design, but I don't have time. The blue on the bottom of the feet is kind of weird. Like I don't mind it, but it's an odd choice. I wonder if there's a storyline reason for that. Like that's how she gets to the store by wearing her blue shoes. All right, that's gonna have to do for that. And wow, did I make her really small? Wow, I made her really small. That was not my intention. All right, so to fix that, I'm gonna grab all these layers, put them in a folder, and then transform the whole thing up. No wonder I had what I thought were small brushes that were looking gigantic, and now I know why, because I was working smaller than I thought, I should say. And we're at 4.5 minutes, not doing too great. Oh, you're right, the buildings, I forgot about them. Well, what I'll do is I'll leave those buildings in, but cut out this layer. This was the first layer I put in. Okay, gone. Let me take this layer, bring it down to 25%. Okay, and then actually I'll put a little bit more detail. Hey, look, it's real buildings, everybody. I promise. The people live here and work here. These are not just boxes in shadow. Okay, and let me throw a little bit of color in for Spidey Gwen. First, we're going to need some black, or close to anyway. I just spit on my Cintiq. That was fantastic. That's the mark of true artisan. Put yourself in the work. Blood, sweat, tear, and spit on your Cintiq. Cintiq is this drawable monitor I'm working on, put out by the Wacom or Wacom company who makes the fun little tablets, but this is fantastically more expensive and fantastically more better to work on. All right, and she has some kind of pink go-go-gots around her eyes, almost looks like spray paint or something. And then the inside is pink too, but it's more like a purple pink. So the inside of the hood, I mean, and this undercarriage of whatever, you know. Then I'm going to go ahead and get a neon blue. Like I said, I don't know that this is even what it's supposed to be, but I like it. So she's getting some, wow, this monitor is getting hot. She's getting some neon blue on her webbing, which will match the neon blue on her footses. And I forgot to put the black. Well, it's not black. It's really, really dark purple. Back to the neon. And then neon blue spider jams on her pinkish areas. Okay, that's decent. And then because I'm running short on time, I'm going to make a new layer for shadows and just do straight black, which I would not normally do. Put it at 50%. And we'll pretend the light is coming this way, this way. And that's just wasted time doing that. So look, here's shadow this way, everybody. That's how lighting works. The side away from the light source gains, loses. Oh, I should put some purple there. Well, whatever, I messed that up. For her costume, I mean. Oh no, someone's texting me. They're like, hurry up. Hey, did you do my drawing? Did you do Psylocke? All right, and then I will do some erase just to soften that edge a little bit. 65. What are we at? We are at, oh my gosh, it closed. Less than 2 minutes. Hi-yo, going quick. La la la, la la la, la la la. And then I'll take this whole thing down to 25%. And then I'll put a highlight of what? I don't know, whatever color this is. No, yellow, blue, yellow. Hi, yellow. And if you've watched these before, you know I'm probably getting ready to cheat because I want to put a little color in the background and I'm going to run out of time before I get to it. Actually, that didn't come out too shabby. But I will reduce that to 25. Okay, and now I'm going to go into the background, just do some blue for the Skywalker. She's a Skywalker, kind of. And then actually I should leave some of this out for cloudies and things. Cloudies and things, cloudies and things, cloudies and things. Go. I'll make this side darker to help reinforce the idea that there's a light source. 300. Put some zoops for her swing. And then I'll pick this color, which is not a color that things would normally be. Oh, actually I picked orange, but it looks kind of like a dirty gray, which is great for the city. I assume she lives in New York. I mean, that's where Peter lived. That's where she lived in the original continuity. So I'm just assuming. La la la, connect the dots. I always become either Pee Wee Herman or, well, I was gonna say Bill Cosby on picture pages, but unfortunately, he's no longer a good person to emulate. So we'll just stick with Pee Wee Herman, who is the lesser of controversy. All right. Done. 15 minutes. Actually, I didn't even have to cheat. We're just going to leave. Well, okay, I'll cheat a little bit because it wouldn't be me if I didn't cheat. A lot of times when I do something like this, it's not quite filling the page. I'm going to cheat by grabbing a pink, and I'm just going to put some splat lines on it. Ready. Splat lines. Begin. Splat, 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 splat. That's irritating. Splat, splat, splat. Splat, splat, splat. Splee, splat, splat, splat. Wow. I feel like I could do that all day, but I would lose every subscriber I have. All right, and then I will put this in the layer beneath, and I'll leave that on top actually, but I will reduce it to 75, and then I need to erase Benedict Cumberbatch. 100% erase. That's the Mega Man theme. Spider Gwen. All right, and that's gonna have to be it. as usual, I'm not super thrilled with this, but 15 minutes, character I've never drawn before. What are you going to do? This has been me, Gazbot, for the 15-minute sketch. Thanks again to Alex for the suggestion. You can follow my channel. I do toy reviews. I talk about my process working on my own personal comic, Horror 4, which is a kaiju comic. First issue will be at my house to distribute in, I think, 2 days. And I think I said I do toy reviews. Also cats. I have cats. Yeah. So that's it. Thanks for watching.